Hey there, it's Mr. Cartoon Head, and I'm stepping in, as usual, for that other guy who will be here any second with a very, very important message. Hey, so after our meeting, our chat today, I started looking for books. I thought it'd be kind of cool to make a list of books for men, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't even read all of these books. I just grabbed, copied and pasted and made this post, but I made a book list for men, and now my phone is ringing. Sorry about that. I'll just undo that. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of show you the list. So first, I'll just scroll down, and you can see this book list for men at munchback.com. my website. And so, like I said, I haven't even read all of these books. Most of them I have. Abba's Child by Brennan Manning. That's an interesting... Brennan Manning, I love Brennan Manning, but I think I read this at some point. Doesn't look like it's available in audio. Maybe it is. Let's see. Audible sample. Let's hear.
He persuades me to forsake my true self. Abba's beloved.
He persuades me to forsake my true self.
And his
Abba's
Cummings
beloved
notes become everybody else.
Child.
My
And
greatest
his
difficulty
Cummings
these
notes
past years has been
become
bringing the imposter
everybody else.
into the presence of Jesus.
My greatest difficulty these past
I
years
am
has
still
been bringing the
inclined to
imposter
flagellate the
into
false
the
self,
presence of Jesus.
to beat him mercilessly
I am
for
still inclined
self-centeredness,
to flagellate the
to get
false self,
disheartened, discouraged,
to beat him
and
mercilessly for
decide that my
self-centeredness,
alleged spiritual
to
life
get disheartened,
is merely
discouraged,
self-deception and
and
fantasy.
decide that my alleged spiritual life is merely
Self-flagellation
self-deception
has a
and
personal
fantasy.
history with me. When I was 23 years old
Self-flagellation
and a novice
has a personal
in the
history
Franciscan
with me.
order in Washington, D.C.,
When I was 23 years
The order
old and a
practiced-
novice,
So I'm
in the
going to pause.
Franciscan
That's
order in
like a
Washington,
5-minute
D.C.
sample, which is really
the order
cool.
practiced
I love Brennan Manning. He wrote Ragamuffin Gospel and some other books that were really meaningful to me. I think he wrote, no, it wasn't him who wrote the Prodigal Father. But anyway, he's a great author. He's got a great story, I think, and so that made the list. I've not even heard of Loveology, but when I looked at when I found this by Googling it, it looked like one that was maybe interesting, with some interesting perspectives for a man who wants to work on marriage. So the 5 love languages is it's like an old, good old-fashioned. I mean, it's been around since I was a kid. Gary Chapman, Gentleman's Getting Older. But at any rate, there's some great resources too. I just found this while I was creating my list. I'm on the wrong place right now. Let me go back to my post. So now I'm back in the post. Anyway, this 5 love languages. There's this kind of looks like a free little deal with some videos, and start here. I think you do your love language test, but it looks interesting. So that's on the list. And then The Great Divorce. I did read this. This was a great read. I mean, the way that C.S. Lewis writes, it made me want to put this on the list. So it's a fascinating book. Here's an Audible sample. Let's hear it for a minute.
Earth, I think, will not be found by anyone to be in the end a very distinct place.
I think, will not
I
be
think
found
Earth,
by anyone
if
to be in the
chosen
end
instead
a
of
very
heaven,
distinct
will
place.
turn out to have been all along
I think Earth,
only a
if
region
chosen
in
instead of
hell.
heaven, will turn out to
Earth,
have been
if put
all
second
along
to heaven,
only
to
a
have been from
region
the
in
beginning
hell.
a part of heaven
And
itself.
Earth, if put second to heaven,
There are only
to
two
have been
things
from the
more to be
beginning
said
a
about this
part of
small
heaven
book.
itself.
Firstly,
There are only
I
2
must
things
acknowledge
more
my
to be
debt
said about
to a
this
writer
small
whose
book.
name I have forgotten,
Firstly,
and whom I
I
read
must
several
acknowledge
years
my
ago
debt to a
in
writer
highly coloured
whose
American
name I have
magazine
forgotten,
of what they
and
call
whom I read several
scientific
years ago
fiction.
in a highly coloured American
Unbendable
magazine
and
of what they
unbreakable
call
quality of my
scientific
heavenly
fiction.
matter was
The
suggested to me by
unbendable
him,
and
though
unbreakable
he
quality
used
of
the
my
fancy for a
heavenly
different
matter
and
was
most
suggested to
ingenious
me by
purpose.
him.
So
he
again,
used
this
the
is
fancy
like
for a
4
different and
or 5
most
minute
ingenious
sample, which is
purpose.
great. But this book, I did not listen to it. I read it I may have to listen to it again, but it's available in Audible, and it's a great read. It really makes you think, because the way C.S. Lewis writes in this book it just plugs into your imagination so much. So in terms of a discipline, reading and putting fuel in your mind, it's a very helpful, I think, a very helpful book. And that reminds me of why I made this list. In our meeting this morning, I mentioned that I just finished watching The Sopranos on HBOMax for the second time. Not recently, but I recently finished watching it for the second time. And it's not a very helpful, healthy kind of matter to put into your mind. It's full of terrible language, filthy ideas, violence, and plenty of pornography. And again, it's just not something that I'm proud to say I put into my mind. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to create this book list and think about my thinking and help you think about your thinking, because it's so critical. How we think determines who we are and what we are. And it also makes a huge impact on how we feel. And so the fuel that we put into our mind is so important on a daily basis. So The Great Divorce is a good one, I think. So here's one of my all-time favorite books, really. And again, C.S. Lewis is so creative. This book I think everyone should read and even listen to. I've listened to it, I've read it. Let's take a quick sample here.
Blackstone Audiobooks presents.
Blackstone Audiobooks
I forgot
presents
about the music. Maybe that's one version.
The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis.
The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis.
And so maybe they'll get around to giving us a little sample. Maybe not. It sounds like we're just going to get some great music. You can say it's great music or not. It's kind of loud, so I'm going to just stop it. I'm sorry, that sounded like a very good sample, but I promise you, this is a book you're going to want to listen to. I don't know if this is the version you want to listen to with all the music, but it's included in my membership. So I think I will, I'll do it later. But anyway, it's an awesome book. So back to the post. Let me get back to my page here. The Screwtape Letters, Wild at Heart. I read this when I was in college, I believe. It's a very well-written, very engaging book that you might want to check out. I think there's an audio sample here. I listened to it earlier. It's not.
10 years later. Last week, my boys, now young men,
10
and I
years
had
later.
reason to visit our old neighborhood.
Last week, my boys,
So I might
now
listen to
young
that one a
men,
little faster
and I
speed.
had reason
but,
to visit our old neighborhood.
I didn't
and
listen
the
to
house-
that book. It wasn't around in audio when I was in college. So anyway, that's one of them. That's one of the books that I put on the list. I'm going to be working on this list. This was just a quick kind of throw together a list, and I wanted to do that and post it on munchback.com for follow-up for today. So anyway, take a listen, check them out, leave a comment if you want, or let me know. But just I'd take a listen to the sample and pick one and just make a commitment to put some good fuel in your mind each day. And there'll be more books, many, many, many more. And this is just a quick, immediate sample book list for men. So I'll see you next time. Have a good day.